Good morning. Welcome to UCast. Mia Kline and Marissa LeMar are joining me this morning. We're looking at Mark chapter 2. So I'm going to start reading and then they're going to jump in here in a moment. So, all right, Mark chapter 2. A few days later, when Jesus again entered Capernaum, the people heard that he had come home. So many gathered there that there was no room left, not even outside the door, and he preached the word to them. Some men came bringing to him a paralytic, carried by four of them. Since they could not get him into Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening in the roof above Jesus. After digging through it, lowered the mat the paralyzed man was lying on. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Son, your sins are forgiven." Now some teachers of the law were sitting there, thinking to themselves, "Why does this fellow talk like that? He's blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God alone?" Immediately Jesus knew in his spirit that this was what they were thinking in their hearts. And he said to them, "Why are you thinking these things? Which is easier to say to the paralytic, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Get up, take your mat and walk'? But that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins." He said to the paralytic, "I tell you, get up, take your mat and go home." He got up, took his mat, walked out in full view of them all. This amazed everyone, and they praised God, saying, "We have never seen anything like this."
Jesus calls Levi and eats with sinners. Once again, Jesus went out beside the lake. A large crowd came to him, and he began to teach them. As he walked along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting on the tax collector's booth. "Follow me," Jesus told him. And Levi got up and followed him. While Jesus was having dinner at Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were eating with him and disciples, for there were many who followed him. For the teachers of the law who were Pharisees saw him eating with sinners and tax collectors. They asked his disciples, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" On hearing this, Jesus said to them, "It is not healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners."
Jesus questioned about fasting. Now John's disciples and the Pharisees were fasting. Some people came and asked Jesus, "How is it that John's disciples and the disciples of the Pharisees are fasting, but yours are not?" Jesus answered, "How can the guests of bridegroom fast while he is with them? They cannot, so long as they have him with them. But the time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them, and on that day they will fast. No one sews a patch of unshrunk clothes on an old garment. Otherwise, the new piece will pull away from the old, making the tear worse. And no one pours new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, the wine will burst the skins, and both the wine and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins."
One Sabbath, Jesus was going through the grain fields. As his disciples walked along, they began to pick some heads of grain. The Pharisees said to him, "Look, why are they doing that? What is unlawful on the Sabbath?" He answered, "Have you never read what David did when he and his companions were hungry and in need? In the days of Abiathar, the high priest, he entered the house of God and ate the consecrated bread, which is lawful only for the priest to eat. And he also gave some to his companions. Then he said to them, 'The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath.'" All right, so there's a lot of cool things to talk about there. Mia, do you want to start us off with something?
Sure. So I just thought it was kind of cool how Jesus, he wants to have like a relationship with even the sinners, even though we sin. And the Pharisees just want to be like, they don't care like having a relationship. They just want to be like, just follow the rules and then you'll go to heaven. But that's not what it's about. Like Jesus wants to take time to know you, even if you sin.
Yeah, because when he eats with the Levi and the tax collectors, and then even the question about fasting, right? That's the Pharisees are trying to say like, "Hey, here's your laws, and this is how we're supposed to get to God." And Jesus is more like, "Hey, that's oh, yeah, that's good, but there's more to it than that. What's even the question earlier with the paralytic, what's better? It's easier to say to someone, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or that you can get up and walk." And in their minds, like, it's easier to see somebody getting up and walking. And so it's easier to see somebody, doing the right thing, not eating with the wrong people and not doing this or that. But actually, forgiving someone's sins is a whole different thing that we can't see. And so, yeah, that's kind of how the Pharisees' mind were thinking. Yeah, good point. So, Marissa, did you have something on that, or did you want to bring up your point?
I didn't have anything about Mia's,
Yeah.
but I was thinking, so the paralyzed man, he still has like his friends that are there and carry his mat to Jesus. And I was just thinking, like, it'd be super hard to have friends while you were paralyzed, because like you couldn't go and like do stuff with them, but they were uncertain about Jesus, but then they went to him and his sins are forgiven. So
Yeah. Yeah. And just that idea of, somebody that is hurting and you want to help them somehow. And, a lot of times we're helpless, but they're like, oh, we're going to take him to Jesus and that'd be awesome. They show up, and they're like, it's full. And so they go to a roof, right? And could you imagine like digging out somebody's roof? Like, what if you're the homeowner? You're like, what the heck? Like, come on, dudes, like, are you going to fix that? Because they said he takes his mat and walks off, and like your friend's healed from being paralyzed. You're not going to be like, well, let me put this mat to fix this roof. They're going to be like, let's go party. So it's just kind of a weird thing that, like, I love that story and just the way those friends and the way it highlights what's important, right? Because is a roof important? No, someone's life is matter. This guy is paralyzed and that's hard, right? And so Jesus is able to heal him, and not only heal him, but also forgive his sins, right? And that's pretty awesome. That Jesus can do that, because we can't do that, right? Modern medicine can, possibly heal somebody who's paralyzed, or, improve their abilities to move and stuff. But, we still can't forgive somebody's sins without God. So, yeah, I like that. Mia, did you have something for that? Yeah.
No, I just like think that it'd be kind of hard, like even though it was a lot of work to get him up on that roof just to give him like right in front of Jesus, that they like really must have cared about him, or they wouldn't have done anything about it.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have if you know what dead weight is, but like when someone's like asleep or something, if you like try and pick them up, it's even heavier, because if you pick up a person, like, we're kind of rigid, but like just like blah, it's so heavy. Like, yeah, I mean, even picking up my dog who's running around being crazy right now, like she at least kind of like fights, and she'll sit on my shoulder if I get her right. But picking up someone who can't use their muscles, that's just strong. Like, you just and pick them up and carry up to a roof. No, thank you. Like, I've carried shingles up to a roof before, but that's not fun. The other part, kind of tying in a little bit to what Mia brought up, but he chose to eat with tax collectors and sinners, and then he chose, or he, it's also kind of interesting. He didn't, it doesn't say he was eating the grain, but just that his followers were, and he wasn't condemning them for this, and that's what made the Pharisees upset. But just kind of that ending part where Lord of the Sabbath, and Jesus was going through the grain fields, or that last verse, I guess, 27. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord over, or even of, the Sabbath. And so just that idea, Jesus is Lord of everything. If we have rules, if we have these things that we put on a pedestal, right, that we're like, hey, we need to do these things, Jesus is still more important than those. I think of it as, in our day, going to church, which is ironic right now because we can't go to church, right? But that's a mark of a good Christian, right? Because if you go to church, you're a good person, right? You're a good Christian. But what's more important, going to church or knowing Jesus? And so I think this is, the way this says Jesus is Lord even of the Sabbath. Hopefully Jesus is Lord even of going over to church, is going to church. And so I think that's something for us to remember as we try and, build relationships with friends, with people, and interact with anybody. you know, especially right now when we can just say, you know, like no one's been to church for, you know, 2 months. So yeah, hopefully we're able to do something that's church related, right? So, and, you know, we're excited, you know, Wednesday, we have our, you know, yeah, we're going to segue now. Tonight we have our, you know, Wednesday night church service, but we're also excited. Our Sunday school class has a work project to do. Well, not ours, but your parents and mine. And so we'll get to kind of see each other from a, you know, from a little bit of ways, but it'll be fun to hang out and do some good stuff. So, and that's more important than, you know, yeah. So Jesus is Lord of everything, hopefully, right? And that's the goal. So. All right. Well, I rambled on. Do you guys have anything, or you okay saying bye? As yeah, you guys good? All right. Thank you guys so much, Mia and Marissa, for joining me. That's all we have today from Mark chapter 2. So we'll hopefully see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.